Hello, my name is Arjuna Ardagh. I am the founder of the Awakening Coaching Institute, and I teach the Awakening Coaching training with some other teachers. I'd like to share with you a little bit about what Awakening Coaching is, who it's suitable for, who makes a good Awakening coach, what are some of the skills involved, so that you can get a feeling for the training. Let's start off with the vocabulary, with the words involved. The word awakening literally means to shift from sleep to being conscious. All of us wake up every morning when we are in our beds in the morning, and we shift from the sleep of the night to the consciousness of the day. That's the literal meaning of to wake up. Now everybody uses the word awakening in a more euphemistic way to describe a shift from being caught in an unconscious mindset to being free of that mindset and more available to the present moment. Now, all of us know this already. It's not such an esoteric or unusual thing. If you are a mother, if you've ever given birth to a child, you know what it's like in labor, in the intensity of that experience of bringing a new birth into the world. You're not thinking about what did you do yesterday, what have you got to do tomorrow, or conceptualizing about is this a pleasant experience, or is this happening the way that it should be. You are completely and totally and utterly involved in the experience. Your mind switches off and it becomes a peak experience. The same thing happens for all of us when we make love. And that's maybe why people enjoy having sex, not just to make children, but as a way of transcending the usual small preoccupations of the mind, so you become fully present, fully alive. When you fall in love with a boy or a girl, a man or a woman, you are completely there. The conceptual habit of the mind recedes. Colours become brighter, smells become more vivid. You enjoy life more. And whenever you or I or anyone becomes completely immersed in the present moment, an unnecessary filter of distraction is lifted and you become completely present. Now, any moment like this, of breaking through the conceptual mind into the immediacy of this moment, has a powerful effect on day-to-day life. The most obvious example is an intimate relationship. If you're married, if you have a partner. When you come fully present with your partner, when you're really there, listening to what your partner says, experiencing the movements, the expression of your partner completely, the relationship goes through a quantum shift of being nourishing, of being intimate, of being real. But the same applies to any kind of aspect of your life, whether it's business, parenting, social and political action, anything you do, when you're completely here, the effects of what you do will become much more powerful. Because when you're completely present, you're no longer responding to life based upon your reactions to past events. You're responding to life based on what is actually being met in this moment. And the way that you speak, the way that you behave, the way that you respond becomes absolutely appropriate. Today, more and more people in more and more variety of walks of life are recognizing that this kind of awakening is not simply a luxury for the introspective. It is actually a basic necessity to be able to be successful and effective in today's world. Now, why should that be so? I was born in the late 1950s. I'm a baby boomer. When I was growing up in London in the early 60s, there were no microchips. There were no computers. I can remember going to the grocery store to buy vegetables, and the man selling the vegetables would write down the price of each thing on the back of the envelope and add it up at the bottom. So if you wanted to do business in the 1950s or 1960s or even the 1970s, in order to do business, you would need to use the telephone, but of course to be able to document what you're doing, you'd need to type a letter or have somebody else type a letter. And if there were even small edits to what you wanted to say, you'd have to rip it up and type the whole thing over again. Once you'd produced a draft of the business agreement you wanted them to enter into, you'd have to mail it. It would take several days to reach another part of the world, to be reviewed, to be sent back through several drafts. As a consequence, everything in the 50s and 60s and 70s, when I was a child, took much, much longer than it does today. As a result, because things took much longer, there was time to strategize. You could build a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and there was some kind of realistic chance that the plan, the strategies that you set out would somehow come into fruition. I work with a lot of business leaders in many different industries, and today the idea of the long-term business plan has become a joke, because most people today realize that even if you set out a 5-year or a 10-year strategy, the chances of the environment in which you're operating being anything remotely similar to the environment you started out in are so remote that the plan is more of a formality than anything that can really be relied upon. In today's world, a successful and effective leader must rely not so much upon premeditated strategy, but upon the capacity to be present, the capacity to respond effectively to the constantly changing demands of today's world. Awakening in this way, the ultimate kind of awakening, means to recognize the fundamental unreliability of the mind in the way that it rushes into the past, rushes into the future, compares, judges, evaluates. For most of us, the mind is no longer a servant which is useful to help us accomplish our tasks, our objectives. The mind has become a master, which robs us of the capacity to respond appropriately. Awakening is not something that needs to happen to you haphazardly. Awakening is a quality which can be taught and which you can train in. Through knowing the right kind of practices, the right kind of ways of cultivating consciousness, you can learn how to be aware of the irrelevant activities of the mind so that they recede. Not that they go away completely, but they recede so they can be used when necessary. When they're unnecessary, they become as irrelevant as a television in your neighbor's apartment in a foreign language. You can hear it, but it doesn't interfere with your capacity to relate completely with the people around you. This is the kind of awakening which we train you in the awakening coaching training. More and more people today realize the immense cost of not living in this way. The immense cost to personal relationship, the immense cost to business, if you're a business leader, the immense cost to our environment and our global society of living our lives in a kind of sleepwalking. Today, the ultimate implications of awakening are no longer a luxury. Today, awakening of this nature is a fundamental necessity for a saner life and a saner world.